efforts, it's another sport that has seen Victorians holding their collective breath. We're all hoping and praying that we don't have another wave of community transmission and crippling lockdown measures sparked by Dan Andrews' boneheaded decision to hold the Australian Open during a pandemic. This is the same Premier who botched hotel quarantine and contact tracing. The same Premier who inflicted a 112-day lockdown on Victorians. The same Premier whose irrational responses during this crisis saw the border with New South Wales shut on New Year's Day, despite New South Wales being very much on top of its spike in infections. That decision left thousands of Victorians stranded. But as Dan Andrews was locking out Victorians, he was preparing to welcome hundreds of international tennis players, media and assorted hangers-on for the Australian Open. And all because, according to the Premier, Melbourne risked losing the Open if it didn't proceed at the start of the year. But is that actually true?
We're having a major event that if we don't have it, well, somebody else will, and it won't be coming back.
Who told you that?
And I've made that, well, logic tells you that.
No, what credible tennis person suggested that we're at risk of losing the Australian Open as a Grand Slam event?
I've had many different discussions with many different people.
Who's one?
Well, I'm not going into the private discussions that I have with people, Chip, and I'm not also going to... If I say to you that my logic tells me this, well, then that answers your question.
His logic told him. There was absolutely no reason why Victoria couldn't host the last Grand Slam event of the year instead of the first, to minimise the risk to Australia and to prioritise Australians wanting to return home. And today we learned that the crew at COVID Quarantine Victoria decided to have a party for those working in the Australian Open hotel quarantine program to toast the completion of a successful program. Couple of problems with that. One, the program isn't complete. And the other is the sheer lunacy of putting 60 of the highest risk workers in the community together. Dan Andrews' incompetence and arrogance has brought us here. The only positive thing that can be said is that he hasn't followed in WA's or South Australia's footsteps and locked the whole joint down. But every Victorian business and household will be watching with bated breath to see what happens next.